everybody, a very warm welcome along as ever to Sportsbet TV. My name's Paul Alster. I'm with you every weekend looking at the big races and looking for the value, which is what it's all about. And as you know, 2 weeks ago we hit the big time with 66 to 1 winner York Hill, and you don't need too many of those a month to make it profitable. That followed Barnava Dawn, recommended at 12 to 1 the week earlier. Last week, as is sometimes the case when you're going for big prices, they didn't do themselves justice, our three selections, but we're hoping to bounce back with a winner or two, or maybe three, amongst the trio that I have for you here. Now, I've decided to concentrate solely on the card at Cheltenham for a couple of reasons. One is that it's pretty much the best racing across the board on Saturday, despite good cards at Fairyhouse and at Doncaster. But also because the ground is decent, it's forecast good to soft, there may be just a little bit of rain, so I think we're going to get genuine results at Cheltenham on Saturday. Now, the first of the three selections is in the 150, which is the big one, the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup. 17 runners declared at the time of this recording, fairly early on Friday morning, because I have to go out. Erin Dawes has told me we're going somewhere and I've got no choice in the matter. So the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup with 17 runners means that most of the firms are betting 5 places each way. Some may even go 6. And remember, as I've pointed out to you in the past, make sure you bet with a firm who, whatever price you take, will give you the SP if that proves bigger. That, of course, was very much to our benefit with York Hill a couple of weeks ago. Now, it's a great race, the Caspian Caviar, always won by a good horse. Indeed, Frodon has won it twice in the last 4 years, a horse that's already done us a favour this autumn at Cheltenham. Now, a few weeks ago, in mid-November, Cool Cody won over course and distance. He beat Al Dancer, and those two meet again on revised terms, and there really shouldn't be very much between them once again. In that race, Saint Sonnet fell at the final fence, I think, if memory recalls, but he was held at the time. He may come on for the run, but I'm not convinced by him. Very interesting is his the top weight, Paul Nicholls trained Tommy Tucker, Master Tommy Tucker, who's won a couple of races in pretty good style at Huntingdon and Haydock last time out, and he runs in a handicap for the first time, and he's very interesting with the champion trainer throwing him in at the deep end off top weight here. Sepage, another one who goes well at this track, he'd want every drop of rain that falls, and one that I very nearly tipped in this race is Sue Smith's Midnight Shadow, who's run very well here in the past, and he shaped with some promise on his first start at Aintree before getting tired not so very long ago, and I think the Sue Smith yard is coming back to form. They had one yesterday at Newcastle in the bumper, and I noted it had been back down in the morning from 33s, and it went off about 7 to 1 and absolutely bolted in. So I think the Sue Smith yard is coming back to form, so Midnight Shadow is worth considering. But the selection here is Musical Slave. It's trained by Philip Hobbs and the mount of the great Richard Johnson, and this is a very interesting horse. He's only got 10 stone 6, and he was progressive last season in novice chases. He won at Exeter and then was second in a very hot race at Uttoxeter, and he really did catch my eye in a hot handicap chase at Newbury last month, won by Clondor Castle, and I'm of the opinion that had he not made mistakes at the third last, and particularly at the last one, he was really getting up ahead of steam, he might have gone very close to winning at Newbury. Now, that was his first run of the season, and I'm sure he's going to have come on for the outing. Now, the yard, along with the jockey, that's Philip Hobbs and Richard Johnson, a long-standing double act. Well, they won this in 2015 with Village Vic, and this is a similar type of horse in my view. And the odds on offer at the time of this recording, they may go bigger, but if you take the odds with a firm that pays you the SP, you won't lose out. The odds that I'm seeing at the moment are 12 to 1, and I think each way for 5 places, Musical Slave, who is still unexposed, who ran very well first time out and represents a top team that are in form, I think he's worth taking. And that's in the 150 at Cheltenham, the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup. You may be able to afford some Caspian Caviar if Musical Slave wins. Now, a very quick update. Due to creeping senility, one thing I overlooked when I'd given you this first tip, so I want to update you by saying that the horse in question that I fancy, Musical Slave, is the first reserve and is not certain to run. I really hope it does run, and if it does, I think it could very well win. In the event it doesn't get into the race, then Midnight Shadow is the horse that I would very much want to be on in the absence of Musical Slave. The horse trained by Sue Smith that I pointed out ran a solid race at Aintree before tiring, and from a yard that is coming very much back to form. So the advice is to go with the original selection, Musical Slave, but in the event that he doesn't run, switch to Midnight Shadow, also available at 12 to 1 each way. Now, at 2:25, the race after, at Cheltenham, is the Grade 2 Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. It's over 3 miles. It's a very interesting race, and at the time of recording there are the dead 8 runners, so you can still bet each way for 3 places. Ashtown Lad, I think, will probably go off favourite. He's won at Wetherby and Uttoxeter recently, but the handicap that he won it off 123. He's gone up £12. Of course, this isn't a handicap, but I'm not overly convinced that he's good enough to win a Grade 2. Asker Honeybee beat Ashtown Lad at Wetherby in October and has run creditably since Fergal O'Brien's charge. There won't be a lot between these two. And Paul Nicholls again throws an interesting one into the mix in Danny Kerwin, who's unexposed and won an Ascot handicap last time out. There's also Win House for Alan King. Now that one's on a hat-trick after wins at a couple of the gaffs at Ludlow and Bangor, but could well be an improver for a yard that continue in very good form. But as some of you may know, I keep a very close eye on the Irish racing, and I do broadcast regularly on the Irish racing. And there was a real eye-catcher that won just recently at Gowran Park, I think it was, and that was Make Good. Now this one's a fairly rare runner at Cheltenham for Irish trainer John McConnell, and he has gone to the trouble of booking Richard Johnson, and I'll tell you in a moment why that is so important. Now the interesting thing about this horse is he won over 2 miles and absolutely hacked up over in Ireland recently, but 2 miles is an absolute bare minimum for him, because only in October he won a 1.75 mile staying handicap at Navan pulling a cart, and this horse surely will stay 3 miles over hurdles. And I think that is at the back of the mind of Connections here, because he shapes like a stayer, and he went out and made all the running recently to ensure that over 2 miles it wasn't going to be a sprint, and he just galloped them into the ground. Now this is a horse whose yard has had 16 runners over the years at Cheltenham, and 2 have won, and that's not a bad percentage. But even more significantly, when John McConnell has booked Richard Johnson to ride for him, remarkably, 9 times from 17 mounts Johnson has won, and that's a 53% strike rate. So clearly John McConnell calls on Richard Johnson to ride his horses in Britain when he thinks he has a really serious chance, and I think the tip should be taken. And the odds on offer at the time of this recording are 7 to 1 each way. That's a general price. It may get a bit bigger, but I think 7 to 1 is very good value for a trainer and jockey team that have a 53% strike rate. That's better than even money. And that is in the 225, the Grade 2 Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle at Cheltenham. And then for our final selection, we wait till the very last race of the day, the 3:35, a 2.5 mile mares handicap hurdle. It's absolutely wide open. There are 10 runners, and what I'm seeing at the moment is they're betting 9 to 2 the field, which means the bookies and the punters don't really have a clue. They've all got a chance in this. And the one I like here is a horse who, I wouldn't say it's on a similar path to York Hill, but there are 1 or 2 similarities. The name of the horse is a French name, Eglantine de Soy, and this is a horse that is trained by Paul Nicholls and is the mount of Harry Cobden. Now, it was formerly trained by the great Willie Mullins and won at the Cheltenham Festival back in 2019, popped up at a very big price. And then it ran placed in 2 Grade 1s against the likes of Honeysuckle, so this has been taking on some red-hot horses. Last season it didn't manage to win in 4 starts for Willie Mullins, but did run 1 or 2 very promising races. And there was obviously some sort of an issue because it had wind surgery, a breathing surgery, and hopefully that has improved the horse. After the wind surgery, it moved from Willie Mullins to Paul Nicholls, and on its first start for him, it ran a decent race when fifth at Wincanton. Now, it would probably have needed the run, so that fifth place was a solid effort. And then last time out, they ran it on heavy ground, and this horse just doesn't like heavy ground, so no surprise it came 10th of 12. But what it does mean is that after that disappointing run, all in all this season, it's already come down £4 to a mark of 143. And if you look at its form against the likes of Honeysuckle not that very long ago and the Cheltenham Festival win, the 143 mark for me is very, very appealing. And I think back on a much better surface and over a trip that should suit, I think Eglantine de Soil is worth a bet. And at 12 to 1 each way, a general price for 3 places, I think it's worth an interest. So that's the last of our 3 selections. Eglantine de Soil, 12 to 1 each way in the 3:35 race at Cheltenham. So hopefully it'll be a good day for us at Prestbury Park. Enjoy the racing as always. Let's hope we can pick up a winner or two. I'll be doing a round robin on these 3, I have to tell you. And whatever happens, I'll be back next week looking for more big priced winners for you. So join me, Paul Alster at Sportsbet next week. But for now, I wish you a very good weekend. Bye-bye for now.